بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي أحصى كل شيء عددا وجعل لكل شيء أمدا ولا يشرك في حكمه أحدا. اللهم لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ثم الصلاة والسلام على حبيبه وصفيه سيد الأولين والآخرين محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين وصحبه المنتجبين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. Praise be to Allah, who has the count of all creation and granted everything that He has created a fixed date and time, and no one share with Him in His authority. O Lord, you deserve limitless praise. Greeting to the chosen and most noble of all prophet and all creation, our holy prophet and his pure progenies. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 8th night of our month of Ramadan program from ICA. I can't believe that already a week has passed. A quarter of the blessed month of Ramadan has already expired. I pray that all of you are safe and well and staying at home. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. In the name of God, the most gracious, ever merciful. Indeed, we bestowed upon you Kawthar. So pray to your Lord and offer sacrifice only for Him. Indeed, your enemy shall remain futureless. As usual, I start with a brief recap. Last night, in an humble attempt to shed light on Surah Al-Kafirun, I briefly addressed two concepts. I opened with a question that what happened, that the beginning of the surah, why the surah and the chapter begins with such a stern, harsh and uncompromising language. Start of the chapter: O you disbelievers. Although reflecting on other passages and verses from the Holy Quran, we are able to conclude that the Meccan, the Arab of Jahiliyyah in general, at least Mecca, people of Mecca in particular, they were not completely detached from the concept of God and somehow foreign to Allah. They used the phrase Allah in their qasam, in their oath and pledges. So they certainly, one could state that they were not sophisticated in their understanding of the divine, without shadow of a doubt. God as personal and impersonal, transcendent and immanent, majestic and beautiful, beyond conception and near. These are concepts that come across many verses of the Holy Quran. They certainly did not make sense to them. But they were not the only one most other people at the time, their understanding of the divine was not as sophisticated as what Islam brought and explained. You only need to go to the Christians, to the early Christians, certainly were in the similar position. They were influenced once they left the Hebraic kind of culture. They were influenced by Hellenistic culture and particularly Greek philosophy. And they were going through this idea of trying to balance between what the Arab of Jahiliyyah, لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. We are using the idols for mediators. Similar kind of approach were being used by the early Christians. They could not understand the abstract, impersonal God, which is distant from human being, and a God that they wanted in their life, intimate, personal. And this is why they opted for Jesus to be that mediator, and from the God, the absent, the distant, the impersonal, into something which is personal and immediate and close. Now, you only read, these are not something that one could dispute. These are facts available about the writings of the early, different from what the early Greek philosophers and the first intelligent that they believed in as a link between that abstract, talking about qawm, your own millah, your own qawm, your own people, suddenly at this juncture comes up with such a stern and critical position that closes all the doors to any possibility of commonality. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided that the concept of Tawheed from an Islamic point of view has been clearly established. That understanding and that conception does not contain any possibility for shirk, an association with anything else. لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى is rejected completely. So the notion of somehow give and take is no longer applies. It's either or. You either believe in Tawheed or you don't believe in it. This is why Quran has come with such a stern and very hard and harsh language. And the tone has changed, a complete change in the tone of the Holy Quran. The second point which I briefly addressed was the life of Sayyiduna Abu Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, in which both the Shias and the Sunni community, or at least majority of the Sunni community, with the whole consensus within the Shia community, that have differed. And I gave some brief bio last night about his life, whether he was a mu'min, a believer, or a kafir. I believe, I certainly agree that people such as Allama Amini and others, that have indicated that if there was an ounce of impartiality, one has no other alternative but to conclude of Iman of Abu Talib. But unfortunately, it's what we call the theology of loath or hate, that they don't want to accept that Abu Talib, they can't attack Ali and his faith, they have to attack somebody from his family. Otherwise, there's ample proof, historical and as well as written, that he was a believer. Let's now proceed with our verse, our chapter tonight, Al-Kawthar. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. Upon you we have bestowed Kawthar. We in few minutes we will discuss exactly what is meant. So pray only for your Lord and offer sacrifice only for him. And you, your enemy, shall be severed and will have a short life. This is the shortest chapter in the Holy Quran, although it has 3 verses, but from the number of words that are put into these verses, it's the shortest. It's a Makki surah. It comes within a number of other surahs or chapters within the Holy Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives glad tidings to the Holy Prophet. Because he was facing and going through enmity, disdain, painful infliction by Quraysh and their tribal partners. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him glad tidings that the future, your future, the future of your message, what you are struggling for is going to change the shape of human history. Both gives him glad tidings on the personal level as well as on his message and the global level. Scholars, mufassirin of Quran, they say that sha'n al-nuzul of this chapter is due to the fact, the story, that a number of people such as Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, the famous unholy trio, As ibn Abda'il, and few others, once they realized that the message cannot be destroyed, neither the messenger, because he was protected by Abu Talib and the Hashemite tribe or clan. They tried to say, particularly after the death of his either Abdullah or Qasim, one of the last sons, that he is abtar. He has no lineage, posterity, or descendant, and because of that, he soon will die, and his name and his memory will fade away after his death. Those of you who recall the incident of Karbala, particularly after it, when Zainab salamullah alayha is taken to Sham in front of Yazid, she said the same thing. O Yazid, you cannot and will not and shall not destroy our name. If that was something that Abu Sufyan, Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, and others within the Quraysh wanted it to happen, because he does not have, this is the male-oriented society of Arabia at the time, and unfortunately remnants of it exist even today. That if you thought by the death of his son Qasim or Abdullah, the last one, he is going to be to have no lineage, no posterity, and no descendant, how wrong you are. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted him the privilege of his name to stay eternal and remain eternal despite all the pain and everything else that Quraysh, or all the attempts that Quraysh went through to destroy him. So once his son died, they claim that he's going to be abtar. Abtar means somebody that has no posterity and no lineage. He's the only thing that is left. That as soon as he dies, they claim that his name will be vanished and it will be short-lived and nobody would even remember him. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Inna here is the majestic we, indicating authority. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to explain that there is something that we have decided, Allah has decided to happen. So Allah expresses it within the context, within the framework of the authoritative we, rather than ana. Or inna means the authoritative we. We have the power, the absolute authority to make this happen. Assures the Prophet about the future, that this undertaking, we are going to do it, promises that despite having no son or no male descendant, God will make his name perpetual. This is the promise, is part of the miracles of promising the future. As far as exactly what Kawthar means, there is a huge difference and debate and differences of opinion between scholars. Some have claimed that it is a spring or a river or a pond in heaven. So Allah is given the privilege, the authority of a river or a spring or a pond in heaven, that it is only him that decides who can drink or not drink from that pond. Others maintain it is limitless mercy that Allah has granted, and immense good that Allah has granted to the Holy Prophet. Another group say that no, it is a reference to conquest of Mecca and the benefit that Islam, as well as the Holy Prophet, that gets from this conquest. Others hold that it is the Quran, that for eternal Quran is going to be the living miracle. Some people say it is Nubuwwah. Others declare that it is progenies, the descendant, that are going to come, and through them the name of the Holy Prophet remains alive. Remember, in a number of ahadith that we have, it says those who are searching for longevity in life, there are three concepts. Number one, to establish a public project that people benefit from it, and as they benefit, they remember you for being the instrumental individual for establishing that. Number two, impart knowledge, teach, and as your student increase and become more and more frequent, every time they remember their professor and their master or their ustad, may God bless his soul that taught us something. The third are what we call descendants, sons and daughters, that you bring up to become the embodiment of the value and the moral conduct that you have. So as they behave and they go along in life, by looking at them, people remember you. May God bless his soul or her soul for bringing up some children or looking after them. So this is the descendant, is the Kawthar. The ever goodness that, here Shia scholars have said, since it is the descendant, because the relationship between Abtar and the endless or people short-lived and long-lived, then it is through Fatima al-Zahra salamun alayha. And this Kawthar is a reference to Fatima al-Zahra, because through her, the descendant of the Holy Prophet multiplied, although he did not have any sons. All around the world, you can see and you can hear them, either scholars or even individuals around. Strange that Sayyid Qutb, in his book, Tafsir fi Dhilal al-Quran, mentions this, without mentioning any name of Fatima. He says the descendant of the Holy Prophet, through his lineage, without, again, specifying Fatima, that they are around the world, and his name is being mentioned. Every time somebody calls the adhan, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, the name is there. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Fakhr al-Razi, one of the Mufassirin, the great Mufassirin, lists almost 15 different variation or claims or opinion regarding Al-Kawthar. The next verse, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. Therefore, to your Lord turn in prayer. Remember, this theme and concept has occurred in other chapters that we have dealt with. In Surah Al-Kafirun and others, that once, and in Surah Al-Nasr, once the victory takes place, once you have achieved, you gain that ultimate power, and you have what you want, it is the time to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the person who granted you that privilege. So here, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ, pray to your Lord in prayer and sacrifice. Sacrifice is the right meaning if nahr, as the word here indicates, the sacrifice of a camel. We slaughter a cow, and from Arabic, dhabh or nahr. Nahr is primarily used in the slaughter of a camel. So, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted you that privilege and that blessing, it is the right moment, opportune moment to submit and bow to the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in remembrance and in thanksgiving. Again, here once more, the idea about exactly what nahr is, there are various opinions. One view is in reference to sacrifice because linguistically, nahr comes from slaughtering of an animal, a camel. And because that was something, the animal that most people possessed at the time, nahr is in reference to camel. Another, they say that it is a reference to qibla. When فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ, pray to your Lord while facing the qibla. Another opinion is raising of one's hand close to the ear to say Allahu Akbar with the two palms facing outwards. We have a number of ahadith from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq and various other imams regarding this nahr is a reference to this. Others searching for a hidden meaning, which this is a point that after finishing this humble attempt to deal with the chapter, I'm going to explain a little bit more about it, about the hidden meaning within this chapter. They claim that nahr here is a reference to self-sacrifice in our heart, where we destroy ego. The self is no longer there. That means a slaughtering of the ego and so on. And similar kind of interpretation has happened during the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, where symbolically when we slaughter an animal, all our works, starting from Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan, until Hajj, if we are granted that privilege, when we stand before Allah and we slaughter the animal, as the hadith from Imam Zain al-Abidin at the time says, did you think as you slaughtered the animal that you are slaughtering your ego? He asks one of his disciples. So it is possible, they use that as a hidden meaning and say that فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ, submit to your Lord in prayer, but at the same time in full attempt to destroying your ego and your nafs al-ammara and releasing yourself, becoming free. So long as we are tied, and this is one of the issues during this month that we really need to pay attention to. So long as we are tied to our ego and nafs al-ammara, and we are chained to it, shackled to the desires, we are not free. We cannot ascend. And this is something that another time, inshallah, we will deal with. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. And the last verse, indeed, your enemy shall be abtar despite having children. No matter as time goes on, there is nothing is left of them. Quran predicts, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهِ, they wickedly planned, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala planned, and Allah is the best planner. So the prediction, Quraysh predicted mockingly that soon his name will vanish, and he will be, as soon as he dies, he will be perished too. And Allah responded scornfully to the Quraysh that only time would tell. Now we can sit and ask ourselves, where are the Abu Jahls? And where are the Abu Lahabs? Where are the Abu Sufyans? Where are the Muawiyahs? Occasionally, somebody mentions something, the Wahhabis and others, that they talk about Abu Sufyan, Amir, or Yazid, Amir al-Mu'mineen, or Muawiyah, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Otherwise, history has thrown them out. No longer there. So this is the prediction. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This verse is an answer to the jeering prediction of the Quraysh that the Prophet is going to be abtar and futureless. And Allah, through His power, this is why inna, the we, the authoritative we comes in, we will make sure that this will not happen. The same thing that we have similar kind of things about Quran, that we have sent the message, and it is our power and our authority that we will protect it. Abu Sufyan, no longer. Abu Jahl, not to be seen or heard. Abu Lahab, gone. That mocking of the Holy Prophet, the Holy Prophet's name remains perpetual while they are no longer there. Nobody even knows where they are buried anymore. So the Shia say that Kawthar here is Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha, and through citing a number of hadith from Imams, indicate that what gives perpetuality to the name of the Holy Prophet is his descendant. It's strange that you read articles from some Chinese Muslims and it talks about the descendant of the Holy Prophet in China. You go to India and Far East, the descendant of the Holy Prophet over there. In Kashmir, the descendant of the Holy Prophet's over there. In Tajikistan, the descendant of the Holy Prophet. Not to mention the Middle East, Arabian Peninsula and Africa. Everywhere now, the name of the Holy Prophet is there. So because what guaranteed perpetuality to the Holy Prophet is his descendant, Fatima is the link. Salamullah alayha. Now, so this is the end of the surah itself. Since I mentioned the search for a deeper meaning, it becomes necessary that we talk about tafsir and ta'wil as well. I'm going to touch upon it tonight, inshallah, and then I will start with an extended discussion about tafsir and ta'wil, and what is the right approach to it and what is the wrong approach to it. Of course, we have a number of ahadith regarding the Holy Quran that indicate that Quran possesses outward, dhahir, and inward, batin. And some even ahadith from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq and others that talk about several inner meaning to the verses. And the most inward and deep meaning of the verse only reserved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We may never know. Grasping the multiple level of meaning of the Quran certainly is needed and essential for understanding of the Holy Quran. That's we don't doubt. What we doubt is who possesses this knowledge. That's the critical point. I was reading an article about Tafsir al-Quran from Agha Khan, the leader of the Ismaili movement, in which he claimed that he is in possession of that knowledge that gives him the power to interpret the Quran, to ta'wil, not tafsir, to ta'wil the Quran, to interpret it according to its own meaning. Whether he has or he doesn't, that's an issue that I don't want to discuss here. However, I want to warn everyone that if someone unlettered, an ill-informed individual, begins interpreting the Quran or making an exegesis and claiming that this meaning of the verse is one of those hidden meaning that somehow he or she possesses and been granted to them to such knowledge, it opens the proverbial can of worms. If we really cannot establish who has such a power. We have certainly a concept, tafsir bil-ra'i, that interpretation of Quran according to one's opinion. And it's been condemned from the Holy Prophet right through our Imams to the end. This is rejected, prohibited. So under what category or what parameters this tafsir becomes tafsir bil-ra'i, which is prohibited, and under what classification or condition it becomes a proper tafsir bil-ra'i, tafsir or ta'wil, which is the understanding of the inner meaning. This is one of the critical issues that we really need to establish. We certainly have during the life of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, where they challenged the so-called self-appointed scholars within the community, that they were indulged in interpretation of Quran. And when they came to Medina to ask questions, the Imam asked them a few things to clarify on what basis they permit or they grant the privilege to themselves to be able to interpret the Quran, particularly during the part of the Quran which is not clear from the wording itself. So certainly our Imams have made it clear that this is special knowledge. The principle of election, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen certain individuals and given them this right to interpret Quran because they were the one who Quran was revealed to them in the first place, or someone who's been trained by them. Not everybody can claim, yes, I have that knowledge. Those of you who go to Hajj, inshallah, or Umrah, when you go to Mecca, and you sit in the afternoon to some of these mufassireens when they sit with a bunch of people around them, and they interpret the Quran, and you wonder where on earth they have got these ideas from, and how these obscure ideas are linked to the verses of the Holy Quran as a living miracle. That, inshallah, is something that tomorrow night we're going to discuss before we start with the chapter that, inshallah, we will be dealing with. Let's end as we began by prayer, end by prayer as well. Ask Allah, all of us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during this blessed month. 1 week has passed, unfortunately. Before we realize the second week is gone and we move towards Layal al-Qadr. Sisters and brothers, these are opportune moments that we should not miss. If, as I said repeatedly in the past, if this month passes by and the person that goes in comes out the same, we really have not benefited anything from the fasting, and it has not been a blessed month. If we are unable to reasonably change something from our life. Marhum Mutahari, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his soul, in a lecture that he gave regarding the month of Ramadan, he said our approach to the month is wrong, because we start asking Allah to give us something. That taqwa first start by asking Allah to remove something from us. Remove everything that is bad. Remove backbiting, remove cheating, remove lying, remove slander, remove until we get to the stage we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us something. So long as we possess all the negative characters and attributes, there is nothing to be given. It's mutually exclusive. Haqq and batil cannot be both of them together. وَمَا بَعْدَ الْحَقِّ إِلَّا الضَّلَالِ. So long as we are ridden by all these negative attributes, and we want this month to be the blessed month for all of us, with full of mercy, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us something. Please, let's take this opportunity seriously and pray for each other. May Allah grant everyone the blessing and the mercy of this month. Again, I end by asking everyone to pray for the safety and well-being of those who have put their life before the life of the community, and they have sacrificed their time for the benefit of the community. May Allah protect them all and keep them safe. Stay home, be safe. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.